Welcome to this Axia stream where we're going to be looking at the execution of one of our elite traders over an Italian comment which came out on Wednesday the 12th of September around midday. Now it's going to be two parts to this stream. The first part is going to just show the execution of the trader on the initial comment, and then we're going to follow up. We're going to look at what happened when this comment was denied and go through some kind of execution strategies for trading the denial as well. So a bit to get through, so I'm just going to kind of get into it quite quickly. So with regards to the comment that came out, we'd seen quite a few positive comments relative to Italy over the course of a couple of weeks, mainly regarding the budget, and we saw as a result a significant narrowing of the Bund-BTP spread. So this is the chart that I've got up here, 60-minute chart. So you can see over the course of a couple of weeks, we saw a real narrowing of this spread, which had blown out on some of the concerns going into the Italian election earlier in the year. So what this trader had in mind was, in the event of some negative news coming out, there could be some significant unwinding of this spread, and as a result, good opportunities to play the Bunds and the BTPs. So the actual comment that came out was 5-star will seek Tria, who's the finance minister of Italy, his resignation if they do not get the 10 billion euros for universal income. Now, this is new information. It's fresh to the market. We hadn't really heard anything of any conflict within the Italian government or amongst the ministers. So this is kind of fresh to the market, and specifically with reference to Tria. That's the key to this, and which really set the markets off. So we're going to go into the ladders and just see how this trader executed. I'm not going to stop it too much, just to make sure that we can get through the denial as well in the allotted time. So main markets I want you to focus on are the Bunds and BTP. So pretty straightforward today, in a kind of risk-off, peripheral risk-off trade. We expect the spread to widen, which would equate to the Bunds going up and the BTPs coming off. So after chatting to the trader, he's given me some of his thoughts and some parts of his process going into this trade. Because it was such a significant comment in that it went against the flow of the last 2 weeks trading, he did execute with some quite significant size on this trade. So I'm going to just play this ahead now. And we should see shortly the Bunds bid up and the BTPs come off. So immediately executing to 90 lots short in the BTP and 240 lots long in the Bunds. You can tell, compared to some of these other recordings that we've seen, he actually thought this was quite big, to the extent that he wasn't laying any orders to get out immediately. He feels like this should go. And as the BTP starts to hold on side, moving down, he's got more conviction and scaling out some of his Bund position, but still maintaining quite significant size in this trade. So you see Bunds taking the higher there. BTPs have come off maybe 20 ticks or so, and just starting to apply now his strategy for exiting these trades after allocating large size, where just laying offers and bids and scaling out as the market rotates in his favour. Now, with regards to the expectations of this trade, the trader advised me that, with something this big, he expects the Bund to really go 20 to 30 ticks. So you can see he wants to keep as much size as he can in He's even with 160 lots on, trying to kind of only scale out of 10s and not too aggressively really. Scaled out of his BTP position a little bit more, but having kind of 90 to 100 lots on in the BTP, you know, it's a significant position to have. Even having 30 lots with this sort of volatility we've seen in other streams that we've done or reviews of this trader's execution, you know, the BTPs can really blip against you or for you. So being a little bit more cautious with his size. He's actually got in with a bit more in his bunds now. And again, just with that estimation of how far the move should go in his mind of 20 to 30 ticks from say around this 58s area, you know, he doesn't want to exit this trade too quickly. So as soon as he's scaled out, if he feels that BTPs are still coming off and still holding an offer, you know, he's willing to put back a little bit more in his bund position just to enable him to stay in the trade that much longer. Just noticing the price action in the bunds, you know, you can see it's quite aggressive. You can see big clips hitting into towards the highs, taking out prices and then holding a bid higher up. So it's kind of what you want to see, and the equivalent happening in the BTPs. So I'm actually going to hold it there. Now with regards to what happens in the rest of this portion of the move, the bunds do move up. He does maintain a position throughout that period in both the bunds and BTPs, but I actually want to skip forward to talk about the denial, which comes a little bit later. So here's the headline that came out for the denial. Senior 5-star source tells Reuters there is tension over budget resources, but no threats to remove Tria. Now, this trader was actually still long going into this denial, so he did take quite a significant hit. But what I want to talk more about is how you may have executed. You'll see how he executed while retaining his long position. But just some examples of how you'd be able to execute if you weren't in this position. It's something the trader stressed to me, is that, you know, he didn't expect the denial to come this quick. He did expect it to be denied, but usually within, say, 40 minutes to an hour or so after the comment, you'll get the denial. It's quite unusual to get the denial so soon after, within 15 minutes or so of the comment. So that just gives an example of the sort of time frames these traders look for and why he was willing to hold his size still into a period when this denial came out. So this is what we're going to see. This is the 5 minute or 1 minute, sorry, of the bunds here, and this is the move which occurred on the denial. So it's very, very sharp retracement. Now, obviously, if you're out of the market and you're able to cut, sell the denial or even cut and reverse your position, then fantastic if you can get in quick enough. But something I just want to draw your attention to from this 5 minute, which we'll see how the trader executes in turn, is the initial spike down on the denial retraced the entire move that the Bund had made throughout the course of the initial comment. Now this is quite a significant bit of information and something that, you know, really want to draw on for here, because it's quite often that denials will bounce. They'll have a big move and then they'll be faded. Especially if they were to move the entirety or retrace the entirety of the move within one blip essentially, then it's a good opportunity to fade these moves and position long at the extreme of that blip, you know, trying to get something out of the fade of the denial move. Now, this was explained to me in that a lot of the sources comments that we receive that come from various news feeds, even though they're denied, they're actually true. So there might be there might be a comment like this that says there's some sort of tension within the Italian government. Although someone steps out and says this isn't true, they're essentially just trying to calm the waters in the short term. But a lot of the time, the way the market interprets this is, okay, there's a trade off the denial, but deep down, there probably is some sort of underlying tension within the government. And this creates this bounce that we see as everyone only takes this trade on the denial as a smash and grab. And that's how you should take it if you are executing from here. So you want to be in quick and out very, very quick. Not only because the fade's coming or you may wish to fade it, but also just understanding the psychology of the market and where this move upwards may have been sustained as something had fundamentally changed to the outlook of Italy. When you have a denial, everything just returns back to neutral, and there's no real reason now for this market to start trending lower. So the expectation that someone's going to sell a denial and hold for an extended move lower, unless there's a real good technical setup to support that, it's probably not going to happen. So in short, one of the key bits of execution advice that this trader passed on to me was, if you get a real big overshoot on a denial, make sure you fade that. It can be a real good trade. Don't have to expect to retrace the entirety of the move, but you can get back maybe a 50% retracement or a 38 retracement on that. So we're just going to examine now how this trader executed. And you'll see he was long quite a lot. I mean, this was a pretty significant hit, monetary, with regards to his P&L in the blip that we'll see. But the key and it shows the experience of this trader in how he was managed to maintain composure and execute quite aggressively, even though he actually goes offside quite significantly from where his average price currently is. So I'm going to play this forward for you, and you won't really be able to miss when the market reacts. So you can see 10 ticks, 12 ticks offside in a very short space of time. And just want you to watch this box and see how the trader starts to execute. So he starts adding into this position around the 57, 58 area when it had held a bid, and then scaling out quickly. So he has averaged his position, he has faded the denial in effect, but he's being prudent to get out of a lot of his size relatively quickly, to scale out quite aggressively, to be offside, with a 300, 350 lot position. To that amount, you want to be, taking your medicine and just trying to limit the damage and take advantage of the planned setup without losing your head. So the setup is to play the bounce from, I think it was 58s where the bid held, back up towards this sort of area, 65, 66s. You wouldn't really expect this to then go on and smash through the highs, but he wants to stay in this trade as long as it's kind of giving him a bit of his loss back. So you can see in the BTPs, he's also he got filled on a lot of his resting orders as the market did blip up. So he was net short, which he then cut and reverse. But I think really the Bunds is the best example and probably most relevant to many of us who trade the bonds, especially on these comments of how you're able to execute on that.